Thank you. Great show. Welcome to Hannity tonight. The dam is bursting on the deep state. Everyone involved in this plot to help Hillary Clinton and destroy President Trump are now being exposed. Lock up, get ready. It is going to be huge. Now, the president is now blasting what he is calling the criminal deep state and taking on James Comey, James Clapper, who are now trying to cover their tracks and in a full panic tonight. Also, Judicial Watch is learning the FBI will order anti-Trump FBI lovebirds Strzok and Page to preserve bureau records and their personal accounts and personal devices. I hope they didn't acid wash them. And Senator Chuck Grassley saying one of these text messages actually is suggesting that the, quote, Obama White House is running this. Running what? Referring to an unspecified investigation. Plus the standoff between GOP Chairman Devin Nunes, Trey Gowdy, and the DOJ over classified documents is now coming to a big head. We're going to tell you what to expect at tomorrow's meeting. And also, Rod Rosenstein created an unmitigated deep state disaster by appointing Robert Mueller. We have a law professor who's now calling what Rosenstein did unconstitutional. And brand new tonight, the American Center for Law and Justice, they are reporting that 30,000 emails exist between the Clinton State Department and the Clinton Foundation, proving that there was collusion. Plus, former Clinton pollster, chief strategist, this is a game changer, Mark Penn is blasting the entire Mueller investigation. He joins us live tonight. But first, a very important breaking news opening monologue. All right, the president now is reacting to a flood of information coming out about how the deep state targeted and, in fact, spied on his campaign. On Twitter earlier today, he wrote, "Look how things have turned around on the criminal deep state. They go after phony collusion with Russia and a made-up scam and end up getting caught in a major spy scandal, the likes of which this country may have never seen before. What goes around comes around." We've been saying that. Didn't we call this the year of the boomerang? It's exactly what this is. You have a criminal deep state, and it's all coming out at breakneck speed. Now, it's literally hour by hour, the things that we're learning. It's new and it's damning. The details are unbelievable. The president slamming the entire scandal and giving it a new nickname. This is the tip of the iceberg. Take a look.
We now call it SPYGATE. You're calling it SPYGATE. A lot of bad things have happened. I want them all to get together. They'll sit in a room. Hopefully they'll be able to work it out among themselves.
Now, because new information is coming out at a rapid-fire pace, deep state actors like the arrogant, sanctimonious James Comey, they are racing to try and cover their tracks. Now, Comey fired off a pair of tweets this morning. Facts matter. The FBI's use of confidential human sources, the actual term, we call them spies, is tightly regulated and essential to protecting the country. Attacks on the FBI and lying about its work will do lasting damage to the country. How will Republicans explain this to their grandchildren? Well, here's a better idea, Jim. How will you explain what you did to your grandchildren? And you have to love how Comey is using FBI official jargon, confidential human sources, to try and spin this. Did you have a spy in the Clinton campaign? Did you have a spy in that campaign? He continues. Dangerous time when our country is led by those who will lie about anything, backed by those who will believe anything based on information from media sources that will say anything. Americans must break out of that bubble and seek truth. All right, speaking of lying, that's exactly what Comey did under oath in front of Congress when he falsely claimed that he didn't decide to exonerate Hillary Clinton before interviewing her and 17 other key witnesses. They were writing it months before. And you know why? Because Comey's corrupt. Thank God the president fired him. And he can't keep his big mouth shut. We advised him he has the right to remain silent. And the president is right to fire back at the disgraced former FBI director. Let's take a look at what he said.
I think James Comey's got a lot of problems. If you look at what he did, if you look at all of the lies, the tremendous lies, if you look at all that's going on, I think James Comey's got a lot of problems. Now, at some point, they have an IG report, and then let's see what James Comey has to say. But I assume he's covered in the IG report. But if you look at what he said, all of the lies, all of the fiction, I think he's got a lot of problems. I did a great service to this country by firing James Comey. And, excuse me, a lot of people have said it. And you go into the FBI, and a lot of those great people working in the FBI, they will tell you, I did a great service to our country.
My FBI friends tell me that every day, and they are helping to expose the corruption in their agency. They want the truth out because it's not rank and file. So the soon-to-be-released DOJ IG report is supposed to hammer Comey's corrupt handling of the Clinton email investigation. We know it was rigged. We know Clinton committed felonies and crimes and obstructed justice. And Comey and his buddies and Strzok to put the fix in to save Hillary's campaign. Then they quickly started spying on the Trump campaign. Where's the warrant? Where's the justification? Now, Comey's deep state buddy, former Obama Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, he is now in a panic, rushing to try and save himself. Now, he's running from liberal media outlet to liberal media outlet, promoting his new book, just like James Comey did, and trying to spin what is a false narrative. Take a look at what he said with the ladies on The View.
I ask you, was the FBI spying on Trump's campaign?
No, they were not. They were spying on a term I don't particularly like, but on what the Russians were doing, trying to understand, were the Russians infiltrating, trying to gain access, trying to gain leverage and influence.
So why doesn't he like
what they do?
So why doesn't he like that? He should be happy though.
Well, he should be.
Really? The president should be happy? The Obama administration and people in the FBI were spying on his campaign without a warrant that we know of? And then the FISA warrant, they lied to 4 judges? Is that not the deep state trying to destroy his candidacy, now presidency? And at this point, Clapper he's straight up delusional. The president, good for him. He's not letting these lies slide either. He's taking them head on.
When they look at the documents, I think people are going to see a lot of bad things happen. I hope it's not so, because if it is, there's never been anything like it in the history of our country. I mean, if you look at Clapper, he sort of admitted that they had spies in the campaign yesterday, inadvertently. But I hope it's not true, but it looks like it is.
This is the biggest abuse of power corruption scandal in this country's history. It shows you just how pretentious, how egotistical people like Clapper and Comey really are. Now, they don't see that the crossfire hurricane, well, it's now coming their way. The wind has shifted the direction. And like we have been warning, they both have the right to remain silent, apparently not listening to me. Now, what Comer and Clapper have done, here is orchestrate a massive abuse of power, the biggest in American political history. Look at investigative journalist Cheryl Atkinson out with another great article, 8 signs pointing to a counterintelligence operation that was deployed against Trump's campaign. Here they are. Code name, the FBI had one. Crossfire Hurricane from Jumpin' Jack Flash of the Stones, which is the operation where they spied on the Trump campaign. Wiretap Fever. Cheryl Atkinson is pointing out how 7 Trump associates were caught up in this surveillance web. You also have the massive abuse of power, FISA abuse, lying to FISA judges on 4 occasions, spying on Carter Page, using a Clinton bought and paid for dossier, not telling, of course, the judges in that case, never verifying, never corroborating. National security letters, the FBI bypassing all judicial approval to obtain phone records by using these national security letters. In other words, the power of our intelligence community. We saw the unmasking, a dramatic 350% increase from key Obama officials. Wow, magically in the 2016 election year. Changing the rules, remember, in December of 2016, Clapper making it easier to share intelligence across all these government agencies. That helps them cover. Media strategy, Clapper, Brennan, both regulars in the liberal media. Clapper reportedly leaking details about this phony bought and paid for Russian dossier to fake news CNN, where he now works and is paid. Leaking anonymous sources. They have been running to friendly outlets to selectively put out information, all designed to propagandize and lie to the American people and damage President Trump. And friends, informants, snoops, the FBI had this informant, maybe others, spying on the Trump campaign. Comey had his friend leaking to the New York Times to get a special counsel, which, by the way, that probably was illegal. And the Bureau working with former British spy, in other words, a foreign operative, Christopher Steele, he put together this Clinton bought and paid for dossier. The evidence of wrongdoing is overwhelming. It is incontrovertible, not to mention, as we told you last night, and Sarah Carter further explained, The FBI's timeline is now collapsing, and the investigation's not adding up. Former Obama AG Loretta Lynch telling Congress that the FBI, the DOJ officials were discussing Trump campaign associate Carter Page in spring of last year. Maybe that would have been a good time to go say, Mr. Candidate, Mr. Trump, I want you to watch. There might be some people that we have an eye on. Remember, Trump said the most exculpatory thing he said to Comey was, if anyone around my campaign, I want you to do your job. And we've been told the investigation officially started in July with George Papadopoulos. So this timeline is way off. It's going to the spring of 2016, which is why Congress needs to now see all the documents. Attorney General Sessions, I hope you're watching tonight. Also, Judicial Watch learning that the FBI will order Trump-hating FBI lovebirds Strzok and Page to preserve agency records on their personal accounts and on their personal devices if they haven't already acid washed them. And according to Judicial Watch, earlier this week, a judge ordered the FBI to start processing 13,000 pages of previously undisclosed emails between Strzok and Page. We can only imagine what are in those text messages and emails, seeing how they trash Trump constantly in their text messages and Strzok at the center of all of this. And then you have Senator Grassley. He's raising a red flag and a very disturbing message from Strzok and Page that actually suggests the White House of Obama is running this, meaning the Obama administration. Now, it's unclear what investigation specifically they're referring to, which is why everything needs to be unredacted. But they did talk an awful lot about Trump. And another top story tonight is absolutely stunning. Kerry Pickett, she's at the Daily Caller, reporting several FBI agents want to be subpoenaed by Congress so they can finally expose all the misconduct and corruption under Comey and, of course, Andrew McCabe. Now, these FBI agents, they're also saying that they want to see McCabe prosecuted since he lied under oath 3 times to the inspector general. Wasn't that what General Flynn was accused of? Oh, and by the way, we know that nobody in the FBI thought he lied. This is why we always say it's the upper echelon here at the FBI, in the intelligence community, the DOJ, who are the deep state actors, not rank and file. They're helping us get to the truth. And if it wasn't for these people at the FBI, we wouldn't know the truth in the end. They are serving our country with honor and dignity and integrity and respect. They are ashamed of what their former bosses did and furious about what has happened. That's why it is so important for all of us to get the truth. Release the documents. Also tonight, it's put up or shut up time for Rod Rosenstein, the king of slow walking, stonewalling, and obstruction. Republican Committee Chair Devin Nunes, Trey Gowdy, they're set to be tomorrow with top FBI, DOJ, intelligence officials about the documents they have been requesting forever to see. And I got to tell you, given Rosenstein's track record, there's no way he's going to hand everything over. It's only going to be a briefing, and here's why. Rod Rosenstein, he wants to be able to control the flow of information, just like he's been doing from the get-go, begging Paul Ryan, oh, don't release the information about FISA abuse. Remember, Sarah Carter reporting information that Congress is trying to see will hold the keys to all of this spying on the Trump campaign. Rod Rosenstein has more problems than just stonewalling tonight. Look at what law professor Steve Calabrese is now arguing, that Rod Rosenstein's appointment of Robert Mueller is in fact unconstitutional, as the great one Mark Levin said last night. He cites the majority opinion in Morrissey versus Olson. Now, the basic problem being that Mueller is more powerful than all 96 U.S. attorneys. Mueller was also never nominated, never confirmed by the U.S. Senate. And because Robert Mueller's appointment is unconstitutional, and that renders everything that he has done since May 17, 2017, null and void. And that's why we heard just a couple of Fridays ago, Judge T.S. Ellis III demanding to see Rod Rosenstein's scope memo that gave Mueller the ability supposedly to carry out this witch hunt. Now, Judge Ellis just eviscerated Mueller's team and his pit bull, Andrew Weissman, for going after Paul Manafort on a 2005 tax fraud allegation that has nothing to do with Russia. And he called out Mueller for putting the screws, the judge's words, to Manafort. Why? To get him to sing. Remember, singers can also compose and flip on Trump so they can prosecute or impeach him. And as far as Rod Rosenstein goes, Steve Bannon says Rosenstein could, in fact, be fired, and very soon. We'll have to wait and see what that's all about. Also tonight, take a look at this headline from the American Center for Law and Justice. It was a favor factory. Deep state forced to turn over thousands of Clinton-era State Department emails to about the Clinton Foundation debunking supposed firewall. Now, the ACLJ reporting that the State Department will be turning over nearly 30,000 emails between Hillary Clinton's State Department and her family foundation. This is why I keep saying, I know it takes more time than you want. We're unpeeling layers of an onion. And that means they were in constant communication. And as the AP discovered in 2016, more than half of these people who met with the Clintons while she was serving as Secretary of State ended up either personally or through an organization giving money and funneling it back to the Clinton Foundation. And another major development tonight. Clock is ticking for the DOJ and the FBI to hand over documents to the Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Chuck Grassley about this highly suspicious case of Michael Flynn, a man who served this country for over 30 years. Grassley wants to see the documents related to Flynn's FBI interview. As James Comey told Congress, the FBI agents who talked to Flynn, they didn't think he lied. So why did Robert Mueller charge General Flynn with lying in the first place? And also tonight, President Trump revealing new details about his potential June 12th summit with Little Rocket Man. Fox and Friends co-host, our own Brian Kilmeade, spoke with the president earlier today out on Long Island after his roundtable on MS-13 gang violence. Take a look.
June 12th, are you going to be in Singapore?
We'll see what happens. I mean, right now we're looking at it. We're talking about it. They're talking to us. We have certain conditions. We'll see what happens. But there's a good chance, and it would be a great thing for North Korea. If that happens, it'll be a great thing for North Korea. Most importantly, it would be a great thing for the world. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
All right, don't miss that full interview tomorrow starting 6 a.m. Fox and Friends, here with reaction to tonight's breaking news and opening monologue. Fox News national security strategist Sebastian Gorka and attorney Victoria Tunsing. Full disclosure, she has done some legal work for me in the past, and I am proud to be a friend of both of them. Let's start with you, Victoria. A lot to break down here tonight.
Listen, Sean, since last December, my husband, Joe DeGeneva, and I have been saying that there was a brazen plot to clear Hillary Clinton and to frame Donald Trump if he became president. And now we're seeing that plot unravel. Listen, Brennan, Clapper, and I'm going to say it, the Obama White House targeted people on Donald Trump's foreign policy team. And the professor, they tried to get two of them, Carter Page and my client, Sam Clovis, who I hope will be with us sometime next week. And they didn't bite. But then they found the weak link, a 20-some-year-old George Papadopoulos. And here's what's been reported. And it's really, when you think about it, and I started researching it today, George Papadopoulos is told by a professor with close ties to the Kremlin that the Russians have Hillary's emails. That's in April. In May, George finds himself at a bar in London, and some gorgeous blonde comes up and starts buying him drinks. My goodness. And then she introduces him to her good friend, the Australian ambassador. And somehow the conversation goes to Hillary Clinton's
Four-way
emails.
hearsay. Four-way hearsay. Hearsay is not admissible in court. You're the attorney, correct, Victoria?
Yeah, but that doesn't matter here, for goodness sakes. He's just saying that he's just talking about Hillary's. There's a term for it, Sean. It's called honey trapping. This is classic spy agency, CIA. I used to be chief counsel for the Senate Intelligence Committee. This is classic spying technique, honey trapping, using the lure of sex to get somebody to open up.
Unbelievable.
And then,
and
to
Downer,
use
by the
that
way, paid $25,000 himself to the $25 million to the Clinton Foundation.
And then to use that flimsy information to start an entire surveillance and investigation of the Trump campaign just boggles the mind.
Sebastian Gorka.
We need to put this in perspective, Sean. Victoria's absolutely right when it came to what was done operationally. But what is this in the most concise terms? This is the first time in U.S. history that we have had industrial-scale political espionage during a presidential campaign. Our nation was founded in a rejection of the capricious usurpation of power. That's why we had the Revolutionary War. Now it's happening in the Obama administration at the highest level of the intelligence community. We created these systems to detect, apprehend, and prosecute Soviet spies, Nazis, and terrorists, not people who simply have a different political persuasion. The president was right. He was spied upon, he was surveilled, they tried to entrap his people and frame him.
You know,
and we are just at the beginning of I asked Sharyl Attkisson today, she said we have unveiled less than 2%
correct
of the real corruption.
We still have a masking. We still have a rigged investigation. We have spies in the Trump campaign. We have Hillary working with Russian lies against the American people. Russian lies bought and paid for. FISA court abuse to the point where they lied to 4 judges. Where does this end, Victoria?
Well, I hope it's not ending. We're starting to unravel and peel back this onion. And God bless these FBI agents who want to come forward. We were told that everybody in the FBI just loved James Comey. Well, it appears that there's some that want to see him indicted, and I hope that happens.
All right. Thank you both. Appreciate your insight. When we come back, a live report. Ed Henry at the White House tonight. Very important report. Also, you don't want to miss former Clinton advisor Mark Penn agrees the Mueller witch hunt needs to end. And Newt Gingrich right here in studio. Straight ahead. All right, joining us live from the White House right now, a lot to report tonight is, of course, about President Trump's SPYGATE comments from today, and when we will officially know if, in fact, the summit is on with Little Rocket Man next month. Fox News, he's our chief national correspondent, Ed Henry. Every night there's breaking news, never stops. It's by the second almost.
Sean, great to see you again tonight. You're right that on the SPYGATE issue, as the president dubbed it today, the relentless pressure from President Trump is succeeding in at least one way tonight. He is turning the tables on former Obama officials like James Clapper, James Comey. Today, Clapper being forced into playing defense on CNN and denying that he ever committed crimes. New tonight, Clapper is telling PBS the intent was not to spy on the Trump camp, but to figure out what the Russians were doing. That's a mile apart from March 2017, when Clapper completely denied there was surveillance of the Trump campaign. All this leading the president today to call Clapper a lying machine. Today he added it was a good thing for the country that he fired James Comey because of what the president called the former FBI chief's tremendous lies about surveillance and other matters. Notice that Comey today shifted his own story as well. Look at this tweet. He says, facts matter. The FBI's use of confidential human sources, the actual term, is tightly regulated and essential. So he's saying it happened, but it's regulated and essential to protecting the country. Attacks on the FBI and lying about its work will do lasting damage to our country. How will Republicans explain this to their grandchildren? Well, Democrats today tried to stop Republican Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy from meeting tomorrow to review this classified intelligence about surveillance with the FBI Director Christopher Wray and other officials. Chuck Schumer insisting Democrats be added because he thinks the GOP lawmakers are doing the bidding of the president. But White House officials tonight shut that talk down by saying Democrats will get a second briefing after Memorial Day, while the president today told reporters he wants the truth.
We now call it SPYGATE. You're calling it SPYGATE. A lot of bad things have happened. I want them all to get together. They'll sit in a room. Hopefully they'll be able to work it out among themselves. We're not undercutting. We're cleaning everything up. What I want is total transparency.
No one should trust anything they say coming out of that meeting.
I don't care who comes. I'm not in control of the invite list. The only thing I would ask Dana is if you're going to show up with an open mind and closed lips.
Now, meanwhile, another important minister in North Korea is lashing out and making it sound like they don't want to meet, saying that, quote unquote, unlawful and outrageous acts by the Trump administration may prevent this meeting. I can tell you the president earlier today told everyone to calm down, saying he thinks it may still happen on June 12th or a later date, adding we will know for sure whether this summit is going forward next week, Sean.
All right, we've already won a lot in all of that and have given nothing. Ed Henry at the White House.
Good to see you.
Now, former Clinton pollster, advisor Mark Penn, he is causing quite the stir this week among Democrats, the left, after he wrote an article, very important one. He wrote it in The Hill, stopping Robert Mueller to protect us all. In this article, Penn writes, quote, stopping Mueller isn't about one president or one party. It's about all presidents and all parties. It's about cleaning out and reforming the deep state so that our intelligence operations are never used against opposing campaigns without the firmest of evidence. This is a very honest comment.
Be blunt about it. What exactly is Mark Penn selling? Here's a guy who lost Hillary Clinton's campaign. Does he have a Fox News contract? Is he writing for conservative websites? I want to know. As you know, in Washington, D.C., often when people do strange things like this, creatures of the swamp, they're doing it for a reason.
Mark Penn joins us now, along with former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Mark, I didn't really actually expect you ever to be on the program. I'm not going to lie. We've been opposing each other in many ways for many years. I give you credit, and it's not because you agree.
True.
We've never had, ever, this happen to an American president. Ever. It's never been this bad. We got FISA lies. We have a deep state. We've got spies in a campaign. This is bad for the country. Explain what you meant.
Well, I think that's exactly right. Look, I spent a year fighting Ken Starr when I thought that was wrong. And a lot of people here at Fox News, yourself included, were gung-ho on that. And I saw how destructive that process was to the presidency, the people around him, and how, in the end, it resulted in nothing. And today I looked at this process, and I'm a skeptical person. At first, it seemed like it was a good process. Maybe it made sense. But as more and more questions came really to the fore, how did this get started? What kind of techniques were used? What was behind the warrant? What kind of techniques did these prosecutors use where they're raiding people and shaming them and threatening relatives? This doesn't seem like an American democracy. It seems like a Star Chamber series of events. And now this thing is opening up after a year and testimony by every one of these former intelligence chiefs. They never said that they were using this kind of intelligence. They've been consistently hiding what they were doing, why they were doing it. Whether I'm a Democrat or Republican, I think more people have to come together and say, enough. We can't continue to criminalize politics. I may not agree with you or President Trump on tons of issues, but I will agree on this. I will agree on this, the way I've seen this unfold.
Listen, if we are going to have, and this is no offense to Hillary and the Clintons you work with, if she pays for op research, that's fine, that's part of politics, but a foreign national puts together a dossier and in an interrogatory in Great Britain says, oh, that was raw intelligence, maybe 50-50, and that becomes, to use the Grassley-Graham memo wording, the bulk of information to obtain a FISA warrant, 3 subsequent renewal applications, Mark, and then we've got spies in the campaign. That's not the United States to me. You even mentioned the deep state. You use the term. That, to me, we will lose the country if the tools of intelligence are turned on the American people this way.
Look, I say the deep state appears to me to be in a deep state of desperation. They know this IG report is coming down. They know that Nunes and others have really been successfully getting to the bottom of how this thing started, and they know this is all coming out. And you see these guys, how they're changing their stories from day to day, how they become TV talking heads, which is really just incredible to think that they headed our national intelligence establishment. You know, I think this is going to come down. I think this IG report, I presume, will knock Comey out of the box as a potential witness.
I would expect a criminal referral.
And we're all wrong, you know, it'll change my mind. But that doesn't, you know, it's hard to see how that's not going to come down that way.
And Sean, I would expect in the end here a criminal referral, but there's never, I am calling this the biggest abuse of power, corruption scandal in history. And it really, when you think about it, look at what Watergate was, a break-in. It ended up with the president resigning, a cover-up that ensued. But now we're talking about a sophisticated operation, spying on any campaign, and then, of course, lying to get a FISA warrant, the most difficult warrant to get. You had to lie before a judge time after time and not telling them that this is op research paid for by the other party.
Right, and I think the other thing that's important to note, you talked about it in the package leading up to this, but the stories of both Comey and Clapper in particular have continued to evolve and change as far as what they've originally said happened and what they say happened now. And as more information comes out, whether it's Devin Nunes or Trey Gowdy or others that are digging and getting into more and more of these, what happened, more questions are coming out that need to get answers. The president's right that we need to get to the bottom of this, find out exactly what happened, when it happened, who ordered it to happen, and why it was done. But we continue to have more and more questions come out the more that people dig in. And you look at people like Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy, Richard Burr in the Senate, the more people ask questions, the more they get attacked. I think there's a lot of people who are very concerned about finding out the truth of what happened last cycle, why it happened, and who ordered it.
I think, Mark, where are your liberal friends? This is interesting because Alan Dershowitz, and I agree with him on some issues, especially issues involving the Middle East, Israel, our closest ally. Where are those civil libertarians that are supposedly in the Democratic Party because their voices have been silent? Is it just because of political differences that they're willing to accept this type of intelligence abuse and abuse of power and spying on other candidates?
Well, look, even organizations like the ACLU that used to be for the First Amendment no matter what have changed their policy because you could raise a lot more money being on one side or the fence or the other. Look, I'm disappointed that more people aren't concerned what's going on here with the FBI. It's not about this president. It is not about this campaign. It's about all campaigns and all presidents, as I said in the piece. We cannot allow the deep state to operate in this manner. We've got to really get to the bottom of what's going on here for sure.
Listen, if you had taken heat just for writing the article, wait till some of your old friends see you on this show. God help you. But thank you for what you're doing. I think it's courageous and it's the right thing to do. This is a real danger to the country. Thank you, sir. Sean, always good to see you.
Thanks,
when we
Sean.
come back, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, right here in studio. Straight ahead.